Lord of Mystery. The Return of the Stars, chapter 131 to 140. The Jinn god and the Mother Tree of Desire did not refute for a while, and they also recognized the possibility of this situation. A big explosion can indeed make everything appear in the starry sky. As for the creatures here, the 7 gods born here have no value to them. When Hasta heard this, he felt that he should remind them not to keep thinking about destroying the earth. The universe is so big, but there are not many planets with such good life, especially those that have given birth to good civilizations. The original power guarded this place, and God and Mystery also left their power to guard this place. Destruction often only leads to its own destruction. As soon as Hasta finished speaking, the Superstar Master, who had always been calm, felt a very bad premonition in his heart. At their level, every premonition will have a reason. He knew that the Lord of Mysteries was also called the Sign of Destiny, and his words often represented what was about to happen in the future. Right now, the Returner of the Stars gave him the same feeling. He seems to have predicted his fate in advance. This is a prophecy and a warning? Thanks for your reminder. At this moment, the Superstar Master acted very modestly, and even his tone was not as arrogant as before. The Jinn god and the Mother Tree of Desire looked at each other, both feeling absurd. The Superstar Lord actually chose to bow his head at this moment. Did those words really shock him that much? Or, when the Star Returner said those words, the Superstar Master suddenly had some kind of premonition. A premonition of possible demise in the future. For existences like them, this premonition is very terrifying. The Jinn god thought for a while, but still did not take this opportunity to mock the Superstar Master. He felt that he should also control his usual words and deeds to avoid affecting his future. The Mother Tree of Desire's thoughts at this moment are the same as those of the Jinn. The scene became quiet and silent for a while. Hasta found it strange that his simple words could make 3 outer gods enter a state of silence at the same time. No one spoke, so he had to break the silence. The stars are shining, and every star has its value. This is also nonsense, but when it comes from Hasta's mouth, it gives people a mysterious feeling, as if this is how it should be. The Jinn glanced at the Superstar Master and hummed. There are always some beings who don't understand this truth. If the entire universe loses the twinkling of stars, it will be so desolate. There is one sentence that he has not yet said. Superstars and other stars must also exist in order to demonstrate his authority. The Superstar Master understood what the Jinn god meant, and he understood that he was wrong, so he did not continue to argue with the Jinn god. His authority is indeed based on other stars. If believers are the anchors of the 7 gods, then the stars are his anchors. All life has its own reason for survival. It is rare for the Mother Tree of Desire to be on the side of the Jinn. The Jinn god became more and more proud, and he was about to take advantage of the situation to criticize the Superstar Master a few more times. But remembering that too much words lead to mistakes, he stopped his mocking behavior. Then he said, "Now the Church of the 7 Gods is searching for your believers everywhere, and the Eternal Sun Church should have come out in force. Do you need me to introduce you to some hiding places?" "Need not." The Mother Tree of Desire refused directly. She simply did not believe in the luck of the Jinn. This made Hasta feel a bit regretful. He still wanted to confirm their hiding place, and then revealed the news to Bernadette, who would contact the people of the Church of the 7 Gods. Time is on our side. The Superstar Lord was very confident, which made the Jinn wonder where his confidence came from. The Superstar Lord obviously had no interest in explaining, and refused to speak even though the Jinn asked. The Mother Tree of Desire also chose to keep this matter secret. Seeing that things were almost finished, Hasta was about to log off to see off the guests. The Jinn suddenly spoke, "You still remember that you owe me a temperance card. You want it back now? There's no better opportunity than now. Now that the Mother Tree of Desire is busy providing shelter to her followers, it's hard to be distracted from planning anything with the temperance card. You want to give this card to Bernadette for free? I can use it as a trade to buy myself a little freedom." After the previous setbacks, he and Bernadette had already had a stalemate, and the Mother Tree of Desire had also terminated their cooperation. He needed to make another plan. The Mother Tree of Desire pondered for a moment, Can you find a way to bypass Bernadette and take the Temperance card? That's my problem. It seems you have a new ally. The Mother Tree of Desire seemed to see through the true thoughts of the Jinn god, so she said nothing more and directly reported a location to the Deng god. That's the end of today's party. Hasta announced the end of today's gathering of stars, and then used the chain of order to send them back to their stars. After doing this, he did not log off immediately, but took a look at the star where the high-dimensional overlooker was located. There was nothing unusual. If the Jinn god has other allies, it is the high-dimensional overlooker who made a commotion not long ago. The high-dimensional overlooker overlooks everything, and since his relationship with the Son of Chaos is not simple, it is very likely that he will get in touch with the Jinn. The Jinn asked for the previous Temperance card, probably because he wanted to give it to the high-dimensional overlooker. But what does the high-dimensional overlooker want to do with the Temperance card? Just for fun? What are his authority and extraordinary ways? It's really troublesome. Hasta thought for a long time, but still didn't want to tell Bernadette the location of the Temperance card. Not only did the Jinn tell the location of the Temperance card, it was even more impossible for the Mother Tree of Desire and the Superstar Lord to tell Bernadette. If Bernadette knew about the Temperance card, it must have been revealed by herself. It's better to meet Bernadette first and let her go to the southern continent. Hasta used the power of the Palace of Stars to block the Jinn's external perception, and then descended into the starry sky above Bernadette's head. Thank you to the stars for your guidance and gifts. Bernadette's tone was a little more respectful than the last time they met. Had it not been for the guidance of the stars, she would not have been able to advance to Sequence 2 Sage in a short period of time. Now, she has almost reached the end of this extraordinary path. She also has a little more resistance against the Hidden Sage. After all, the Hidden Sage's condition is not as good as hers. In addition, she has the Wheel of Fortune card to cover her destiny. It will be difficult for the Hidden Sage to find her again. One thing needs to be done by you. Hasta did not mince words and directly proposed that Bernadette go to the southern continent to investigate the plans of the Mother Tree of Desire and the Superstar Master. I need some time to deal with personal matters. Bernadette did not refuse this task. On the contrary, when she heard about this task, she felt relieved. The debt she owed can finally be repaid, and the stars need her help. For her, this is the best reason to save her life. Yes, you can choose to give up the mission if necessary. I see. After settling this matter, Hasta wanted to disperse the connection between the Palace of Stars and Bernadette. Bernadette said hurriedly, I still need help from the stars for one more thing. You can't save your father now. Hasta saw her thoughts and directly interrupted what she was going to say next. Bernadette was silent, and after a while she said, if I advance to Sequence 1, will I have that ability? The fallen Mother Goddess can pollute even the true God. Bernadette's body trembled slightly. According to this statement, even if she becomes a god, she cannot save her father. Can't you even do anything? Bernadette cast her last hopeful gaze on Hasta, who was sitting in the Hall of Stars. Regarding this issue, Hasta has also thought about it. He estimated that if he wanted to solve the contamination on Russell, he would have to reach Sequence 1 at least. It may also be that he has to wait until he becomes a true god before he can purify this pollution with the help of the Palace of Stars. After all, the fallen Mother Goddess is one of the three pillars, a powerful existence that truly stands at the apex of the universe. But if he becomes a true god, Russell's situation will be awkward. Well, becoming an angel should be his best ending. You cannot pay this price now. It would be great if there is a way. Bernadette's mood was agitated. Her beautiful eyes were full of beauty, and she rarely showed a moment of weakness. Soon, Bernadette adjusted her mentality and restored her previous image of the mysterious queen who was calm and wise. I will investigate what happened in the southern continent. Bernadette made her own commitment on this matter. Hasta thought for a moment and reminded, if you encounter light that does not belong to the blazing sun, remember to run away. The light that does not belong to the blazing sun? Bernadette thought about it and thought of the recent unusual behavior of the Eternal Sun Church. This sentence seems to say that some existence is stealing the power of the eternal blazing sun, and it has succeeded. I'll pay attention. Hasta said nothing more, cut off the contact, and dispersed into the starry sky above Bernadette's head. A war between gods? Bernadette looked up at the stars, feeling deeply frightened by the still brilliant starry sky. The starry sky is too big, and she is too small. Sequence 2, Angels on Earth, can only stay on the ground. The starry sky is a forbidden realm belonging to the gods. Chapter 132 Hasta. I'm so stupid, really. Bernadette has finally left Backland, and I can start preparing to steal the Black Emperor card. In the Hall of Stars, Hasta has not chosen to log off yet. He is thinking about how to take the Black Emperor card in the Roussel Memorial Exhibition after Bernadette leaves Backland. He didn't take action before because his strength was not enough. After being promoted to Sequence 7, he should have the ability to take the Black Emperor card. When Bernadette was still in Backland, he didn't try to avoid being discovered. Now is the best time. Sequence 9 Lawyer, Sequence 8 Barbarian, Sequence 7 Briber. Hasta thought about the extraordinary abilities that these three sequences brought to him. Robbery is definitely not feasible, stealing in secret is what he needs. After thinking for a while, he had a simple idea in his mind. He can recruit a younger brother through the Briber's extraordinary ability. As long as he can touch the Black Emperor card, let him sacrifice the Black Emperor card directly to the Hall of Stars. Then let him burn himself to death, completely cutting off the clues of the search. After thinking for a while, Hasta still rejected this idea. Such an exciting thing, of course, he had to do it himself. He is now a Sequence 7 Briber, but he has few opportunities to really use his abilities and is seriously lacking in practical experience. This is a good opportunity to learn to integrate his extraordinary abilities. For example, he can learn from Klein's experience in stealing the Black Emperor, make good use of the relationship between the spirit and the Hall of Stars, and take away the Black Emperor card. This is not a difficult task for him. After all, with Klein's previous experience, he only needs to simply imitate. But he still wants to try to solve it himself. If it doesn't work, he can use Klein's version of theft. At present, his 3 chains of order give him 3 extraordinary abilities: authority, creating rules, involving the path of destiny, and the hidden authority of the 3rd chain of order. Combined with the extraordinary ability of his own lawyer path, the rules can be distorted within a certain range. If he can use these abilities well, it should not be difficult to enter the Roussel Memorial Exhibition and steal the Black Emperor card. The next day, Hasta got up early on purpose. He changed into a newly bought 3-piece suit of trousers, shirt, and swallowtail formal suit, put on a silk bonnet, chose a gold pocket watch, and a cane inlaid with gold from aquamarine wood. Before leaving, he also used a little perfume with a less obvious scent. Butler Neil was very satisfied with Hasta's outfit today, and ordered the maids to dress Hasta up beautifully, handsome and unrestrained. If Butler Neil knew that he was only going to the Roussel Memorial Exhibition instead of going out on a date, he would be very disappointed. Hasta smiled and went out in a carriage. Number 2 Kings Avenue, Kingdom Museum. Although it is not the weekend yet, there are still many people coming to visit the Roussel Memorial Exhibition, and there are already many people queuing at the door. Hasta waited patiently, and at the same time, he was also impressed by the glorious image that Roussel left to the world, which still has such a great influence. No wonder he can fight against the pollution of the fallen Mother Goddess until now. Soon, Hasta followed the crowd into the Kingdom Museum, and then followed a guide who was responsible for explaining Roussel's history to visit the Roussel Memorial Exhibition. Entering the first exhibition hall, the pretty female guide happily introduced, "Everyone, here are the daily necessities of Emperor Roussel." Hasta also saw the golden toilet that shocked and envied Mr. Fool. He cursed corruption in his heart. So much gold, but it was used to make toilets. Do you really regard money as feces? After the daily exhibition hall, it was the exhibition hall that collected Roussel's various manuscripts and notes, as well as some documents, and even historical relics of great value such as the Civil Code. While the guide was flipping through Roussel's diary, Hasta also saw the contents recorded on it. There is no other value except for complaining. This is the love poem he wrote. This is the bracelet he made himself. This is the original manuscript of the novel he wrote. This is the toy he made for his children. This is the building block he invented. The female guide introduced the various things in the display cabinet with an almost worshipful and obsessed look. Asta just kept a certain distance from the people around him and listened quietly. When the female guide just read the love poem written by Roussel, several eyes looked at him affectionately. He just kept smiling and didn't let his eyes wander. When the slightly burning gaze faded, Asta breathed a sigh of relief. This is the bad thing about crowded places. Speaking of which, Klein met Bernadette when he first came to the Roussel Memorial Exhibition. I wonder if he also. I really met Bernadette. In front of the display case in front, there stood a slender lady, who was at least 1.7 meters tall. She had long chestnut hair that reached her waist, and wore a bright light red cake skirt and a delicate and small soft hat. The fine tulle hung down, covering her beautiful face. Asta didn't make a mistake for Bernadette. He just took a look and retracted his gaze, pretending that nothing had happened, and had no intention of going forward to say hello. Bernadette showed up here today, probably because she wanted to take another look at the relics left by her father before leaving Backland. Asta followed the crowd and Bernadette did not take the initiative to greet Asta. Instead, she followed the team silently and listened to the guide in front of her, introducing her father's life story in a fanatical and worshipful tone. When they came to the exhibition area of Roussel's study, Asta became serious secretly. The Black Emperor card bookmarks were hidden here. Bernadette was not far behind him, and he could not show any abnormality. Asta pretended to be very interested in every book and manuscript, and looked at them carefully one by one. Soon he found the Black Emperor card that was used as an ordinary bookmark. But he just glanced at it, confirmed the location, and then looked at other things. Bernadette fell into deep thought. Her eyes were blurred, obviously recalling the happy life of their family when Roussel was still there. If you think about it carefully, Huang Bebe should be more than 100 years old, right? The guide in front was explaining how Roussel loved his children in that era and wrote interesting and fantasy fairy tales for his children. At this moment, Roussel's eldest daughter appeared here, which really gave people a feeling of time and space confusion. Asta thought about it and followed the pace of the guide to leave here. This time, Bernadette did not follow. After visiting the Roussel Memorial Exhibition, Asta went to other areas of the Kingdom Museum for a tour. First, it was to familiarize himself with the terrain, and second, it was to avoid attracting Bernadette's attention. Don't let her know that he came here specifically for the Roussel Memorial Exhibition today. At about 12 noon, Asta left the Kingdom Museum and chose a nearby restaurant to enjoy lunch. After ordering his own food, he ordered a more exquisite lunch. If there is no accident, Bernadette should appear. When Asta came to the seat, he had just enjoyed the food for about 5 minutes and Bernadette appeared. Sat opposite him, picked up the knife and fork and began to enjoy the lunch ordered by Asta for her. Are you interested in the diary left by Roussel? Bernadette suddenly threw out a sentence, but fortunately Asta had been on guard against her question, so he noticed that there was something wrong with the question at the first time. Diary? Do you mean those manuscripts? Asta showed a curious expression that was just right. Yes, if you want to know, I can tell you. Do you also know that mysterious text? No, but I can tell you the secrets you want to explore. I just happened to be free and came here to take a look. I didn't want to explore any secrets. Bernadette stopped eating and said with a smile, "It's no secret that you like to collect Roussel's diaries. I just bought those manuscripts out of curiosity about what Emperor Roussel left behind. Have you studied anything? No, this kind of text is difficult to learn, and it is impossible to reverse the meaning of this text through the existing language." Asta answered calmly, not giving Bernadette the opportunity to set a trap and test herself. If one day you can really decipher this text, I hope you can tell me. If I have that kind of luck and wisdom. Asta still maintained a decent smile. I have the potion formula for the Black Emperor Pathway Sequence 6 Corrupted Baron here. Do you need it? Of course I do. Asta was delighted, and in his heart he shouted, "Huang Bebe, you really picked a good time. Obviously, if I get this Black Emperor card, I won't have to waste extra money to buy any potion formula. But this Huang Bebe, Huang's niece, wants to sell me the Sequence 6 Corrupted Baron formula at this time. But I can't refuse, and even have to show my joy. This feeling is really uncomfortable and wrong. A sequence 6 potion formula is worth about 2,000 gold pounds. Alas, if I had known that I would come to visit the Russell Memorial Exhibition later, I wouldn't have met Bernadette. I'm so stupid, really. I only knew that Bernadette was leaving Backland, which was a good opportunity to get the Black Emperor card, but I didn't know that she might come to the Russell Memorial Exhibition before leaving. Just when Asta was thinking whether to pay the gold pound or find a reason to refuse, Bernadette directly gave the sequence 6 corrupted Baron potion formula for free. As a fellow apostle of the stars, this is my investment in you. In response, Asta generously said that Huang Da's niece is sometimes quite cute. He put away the potion formula and sent Bernadette away, owing a favor of some size. It was still a bit of a loss. Asta slowly enjoyed the delicious food, then went to pay the bill and left. He did not take the carriage home immediately, but wandered around here again to understand the terrain here, so that it would be convenient for retreat at that time. After he finished a long round and made a general route in his mind, it was already past 3 in the afternoon. He found a restaurant to enjoy a cup of afternoon tea, and then turned to the law firm for a walk, and then ended the whole day's itinerary. The harvest was naturally great. He got a sequence 6 corrupted Baron formula for free. Although he did not need it, it was at least a little thought from the younger generation, so he accepted it. Hastur sat at the desk, took out a pen and paper, and began to draw a simple topographic map on the blank, and marked the route of action. After confirming that there were no omissions, he burned the paper and began to think about how he should get the Black Emperor card. First of all, he certainly couldn't go there in person, and had to act in the form of a spirit. In this way, no matter what situation he encountered, he had a trump card to return to the Hall of Stars, which could ensure that he would not be caught. Secondly, he had to hide from the extraordinary people guarding the Russell Memorial Exhibition and sneak in secretly. Klein used the method of feinting to the east and attacking in the west, using the method of setting fire to the house to attract attention. He might be able to prevent those extraordinary people from discovering him through the corresponding rules, and with the help of the secret authority, it would be very feasible. If he could distort the vision of the extraordinary people so that they could not see him. Maybe he could even walk past them in a swagger. Then, it was the critical moment to steal the Black Emperor card. Once he took the bookmark, it would definitely trigger the defense measures there and attract the attention of the extraordinary people. He was not sure whether he could prevent the defense measures from being activated by formulating corresponding rules. If the defense measures could be prevented from taking effect, he estimated that no one would find out from the time he got the Black Emperor card to the time he left the Russell Memorial Exhibition. Asta thought about it again and took out his 2 extraordinary items. One was a bell that could enhance the effect of the rules, and the other was the war emblem. He had asked Sharon to help find someone to identify it, and he already knew its use. There were 3 main extraordinary effects. First, a set of war armor could be formed all over the body, with good frontal defense. Second, a 2-handed sword could be materialized, which was extremely powerful. Third, a blood-red vortex could be formed around him, similar to the war field. Once touched, it could deprive the blood and vitality of living beings. According to Sharon's estimation, if this seal falls into the hands of someone who is good at fighting, it can exert the power of a level 1 seal. Powerful seals are naturally accompanied by frightening negative effects. There are 2 main points to note. One, once worn for more than 10 minutes, it will continue to absorb the wearer's blood. If it is not taken off quickly, it will gradually drain the wearer's blood. 2, the overly strong battlefield-killing atmosphere will affect a person's sanity. Once used for a long time, the wearer's sanity will gradually be eroded, and finally become a monster that only knows how to kill. In general, this is a very powerful extraordinary item, very suitable for fighting. It's just that it doesn't match him. As a noble, he rarely takes risks, let alone fight with others. Even Sharon felt that this war emblem was a bit of a pearl in his hand. Let's practice the spirit state first. Asta put away his thoughts, closed the door of the study, and closed the windows. Then he closed his eyes and concentrated for a while, and then tried to let the spirit leave the body. The feeling of lightness, as if flying away, enveloped his whole body. Asta floated to the desk, wrapped the war emblem, and suddenly felt hot all over, as if there was a flame spreading. The originally light feeling also became heavy, as if wearing a suit of armor. Hasta tried to turn around the study a few times, and also tried to merge into the ceiling and penetrate directly into the room on the 3rd floor. No one lives here, and there is no debris piled up, it seems very empty. Hasta flew out of the door of this room on the 3rd floor, and flew back and forth at high speed around the corridor on the 3rd floor to feel the speed of the spirit. When he was about to pass the house where the golden box was hidden, he hurriedly stopped again, always feeling that it was better not to get close to the spirit state. Hasta turned around and returned to the room where he started, and returned to the study on the 2nd floor along the floor, and saw his physical body. The spirit flew over, threw down the war emblem, and then merged into the physical body. There was a slight burning cold. It should be that the effect of the war emblem has not completely faded. The spiritual power consumption was not much, and after a little rest, it soon returned to normal. There was no problem with the manipulation of the spirit. The problem now was how to test whether the rules he had formulated in the secret authority could be concealed from the detection of those extraordinary people. There are only ordinary people like Butler Neal and others in the house, so there is no use hiding it from them. It seems we still need help from Marich or Sharon. The next day, as Hasta was about to go out, Earl Richard from next door came to visit. After a few words of greeting, Hasta invited him to sit down and prepared a cup of Marquis black tea for him. Earl Richard looked slightly embarrassed and said, "I came to visit today mainly because I want to learn some occult knowledge about dreams. It's the so-called God in dreams again. Earl Richard, are you not at all alarmed by this situation?" Hasta no longer wanted to complain about how outrageous Earl Richard was. If there were so-called spiritual manifestations disturbing him every night when he was sleeping, he will definitely try his best to drive this so-called God out of his dream. He can't always let him dictate to him. Hasta thought for a while and felt that he needed to exaggerate the danger a little so that Earl Richard would understand that the value of life lies in staying away from gods. "Earl Richard, have you ever heard of the story of the devil in the dream?" "No, I'll tell you if I have time." Hasta laughed. He was making up this story casually. It would be a ghost if Earl Richard had heard of it. It is said that a long time ago, there was a man who often dreamed at night. In his dream, there was a kind figure who patiently taught him how to deal with various things. With the help of that figure, the man's life became better and better. Not only did he make a lot of money, he also married a wife and gave birth to a precious son. Just when the man was grateful to that figure, fate began to demand the reward that needed to be paid. First, the man's wife died in childbirth while giving birth to her second child. Neither mother nor child could be saved, then his first son, and finally himself. The whole family died tragically one after another, and no one was spared. And that figure just left this man's dream, and then went to the next unlucky person chosen, and then a series of tragedies happened. Hasta felt that he had made his words very clear. If Earl Richard was still so hopeless, he could only wish him good luck. Earl Richard showed great interest in the demon in the dream, and seemed not to notice at all that his symptoms were very similar to those of the victim in this story. In response, Hasta sighed and told him to eat well and drink well during the recent period, and then go on a good journey. Earl Richard thought for a while and said, "You just said a long time ago, when did that happen?" Hasta took a deep look at Earl Richard, and after confirming that he was not joking with him, he even stopped sighing. The two chatted for an hour, and before leaving, Earl Richard warmly invited Hasta to go to his house for a party in a few days. Regarding such an invitation, Hasta just smiled and said, "If you have time." "Baron Campbell, I have always felt that we are destined to be together." "I'm feeling it too." After seeing off Earl Richard, Butler Neal came over, holding a luxurious-looking invitation in his hand. "Lord Baron, Duke Negan will hold a grand ball at his mansion in Queens in 5 days." Hasta sat on the sofa, took the invitation casually, and asked curiously, "Are there many nobles attending?" "There are many. All the nobles with names are basically on the invitation list." "That's right. It was really a grand event. Asta played with the invitation in his hand with a smile, already having a guess in his mind. If there were no accidents, Keelingers should have assassinated Duke Negan at this ball. In the end, Miss Audrey's early vigilance exposed the assassination plan, which led to the failure of the assassination plan. It seems that before the ball comes, I need to meet Miss Audrey and discuss the matter of Keelingers together. Hester still felt that it would be better to complete this matter with Audrey. If he told Greg unilaterally, it would easily arouse suspicion, so he would give this opportunity to Audrey. She takes the bounty on the surface and takes Duke Negan's invisible political resources for herself. After Audrey exposes challenges, I will tell Greco immediately. This way, I can achieve the situation I want. Hester thought for a moment and felt that this method was feasible. Speaking of which, I would also like to thank this Keelingos for helping him improve his favorability. Zillings is such a good guy. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Night. Marich was invited to Asta's home. When he came to the door, Butler Neil came out to greet him. "Where's Hester? The Baron is dealing with some things. Please go to the study upstairs and wait for a while." "Okay." Butler Neil led Marich to the study on the second floor. The door of the study was ajar, but Butler Neil pushed it open with a gentle push. Marich glanced first, and indeed did not see Asta's figure. He walked into the door and sat on the sofa naturally. "Guests, please take a seat first. The Baron will be here shortly." Butler Neil said goodbye and left. At first, Marich could sit quietly, but after waiting for a while, Asta didn't appear, and his eyes turned to the bookshelf on the left front, where there were many books. Most of the books are about legal knowledge, and some are about linguistics, such as Elvish, Giant, and Ancient Hermetic. Apart from these, there are only a few scattered books recording occult knowledge. With the idea that idleness is also idle, Marich got up and went to the bookshelf, picked out a book that he was more interested in, sat on the sofa and started reading. After reading for more than 10 minutes, Marich placed the book on the sofa and frowned slightly, feeling a little strange. In his impression, Hester has always been a person who has a very good sense of time. Logically, he would not have to wait for such a long time. "Did you encounter some difficulty?" Marich thought for a while, but still didn't go out to search, and still chose to stay in the study. Butler Neil came twice, once bringing drinks and snacks, and once bringing several bottles of fine wine. Something's wrong. The more Malik thought about it, the more strange he felt. He got up and walked around the study. When he returned to the sofa, there was a familiar figure sitting on it, Asta. "When did you come in?" Marich glanced at the door that was still closed as he spoke. Hester said with a smile, "I have always been here. Don't be ridiculous. If you stay here all the time, there's no way I wouldn't notice you." Marich came to the sofa and sat down on the empty seat next to Hester. "Perhaps your eyes deceived you." "Oh, I prefer to believe that you deceived me." Marich chuckled, opened a bottle of wine, and poured himself a full glass. "Marich, do you know why human eyes can see?" Marich was stunned for a moment and said, "If you can't see anything with your eyes, do you still call them eyes?" Hester smiled and said, "Then do you know how a blind man becomes blind? Because their eyes are broken, they naturally can't see anything." "That's true, but it's neither accurate nor scientific." Merrick's mind was full of questions. He felt that Asta was a bit weird today and his words were confused. It would be great if the person here today was Miss Sharon. Asta sighed with emotion. Marich felt that this sentence seemed to be mocking his own IQ. Before he could react, Hester, who was still in sight, suddenly disappeared. Marich's face instantly became solemn, and he tentatively shouted, "Asta." No respond. Invisibility? Marich raised his brows slightly, put down the wineglass with his right hand, and then patted Hester's position at a very fast speed. It was empty and no one was photographed. This magic is really interesting. Marich's interest was greatly increased at this moment, and he was determined to uncover Asta's little trick. Stand up and walk around, occasionally punching and kicking towards an empty spot. But Hester's true location has never been found. Only then did Marich become truly serious. I began to understand why Asta invited himself to his home as a guest today and made himself wait in the study for so long. Hasta obviously wanted to use his hand to test his new ability. Can't see with the naked eye. How can it be deceived even by spiritual vision? Marge turned on his spiritual vision and scanned the entire study again, but still found no trace of Hasta. You couldn't have taken advantage of the effort just now to sneak outside, right? As soon as Marge finished speaking, there was a sound of turning books on the other side of the bookshelf, as if Hasta was telling him that he was still in the study and had not slipped out. It's really interesting, an extraordinary version of hide and seek? Marge hurried to the place where the sound of turning books had just been heard. No one was seen, but he was not depressed. Instead, he had a smile on his face. I saw cold air emanating from his body, and the light blue cold air enveloped him in all directions. At the same time, he transformed into a werewolf form, with a pair of wolf ears raised to listen. As the cold air passed, a light layer of frost formed on the ground. After almost a few seconds, Marge's wolf ears moved slightly, and his body crashed 5 meters to the left. Boom! The speed was very fast, knocking Hasta out of the so-called invisible state. Invisibility isn't that easy to use. Marge raised his chin slightly, his tone revealing undisguised pride. Asta covered his shoulders, rubbed them twice and said, "Sure enough, there are still a lot of loopholes." "Asta, are you planning to use this ability to spy on some noble lady bathing?" Asta looked at Marge's face and sighed, "I'm different from you." Marge felt insulted for no reason. Well, let's get back to business. Asta didn't give Marge a chance to get angry and changed the subject first. "Where do you think my invisibility needs to be improved? When you move, you make a slight sound. Although you are very restrained and use very little force, you still can't escape my ears." Marge thought for a while and said, "When facing a large range of extraordinary abilities, it is easy to force you out of the invisible state. Also, you have a faint smell of perfume on you. Although it is very slight, some extraordinary people have very sharp 5 senses and can easily detect abnormal changes in the air." Asta humbly accepted the advice. These are all directions he needs to improve. "I haven't thought of other questions yet. You can ask Sharon to help you." "Will Miss Sharon help with this?" Asta was a little tempted. Compared with Marge, Sharon was undoubtedly a more suitable tester. "Don't worry, I'll talk to Sharon for you. She should also be very interested in your ability." Marge had a bright smile on his face, as if he was responsible for it. "Wait until tomorrow night. I need some time to improve my invisibility. I really look forward to what kind of shock you can bring to Sharon." Marge was obviously watching the fun and not minding the trouble. "It would be embarrassing if I was found all of a sudden." "It's okay. It's not embarrassing to lose to Sharon. I became a Sequence 9 Beander earlier than her, but she still surpassed me. Now, she has left me behind." Then Marge stayed in the study to give Asta some relevant suggestions. From beginning to end, he did not ask Asta how he did it. After sending Marge away, Asta stayed in the study alone to continue to improve his invisibility. Today, he was able to deceive Marge's eyes and spirit vision in succession because he set 2 rules for himself in the study room in advance. The first rule: he will not emit any light within a certain distance around him. In short, it is to achieve the so-called invisibility effect by deceiving people's eyes. This involves modern science and is a bit complicated. If Hasta did not have extraordinary abilities, he would not be able to do this. In addition to this rule, there is also the help of secret authority. Otherwise, it is impossible to hide the fluctuations of the rules here. From Marge's perspective, he cannot sense the breadth and fluctuations of the rules here, and the naked eye cannot see Hasta, thus forming the so-called invisibility. The second rule is specifically used to deceive spirit vision, which is even simpler with the help of secret authority. Deceiving the naked eye and spirit vision so that they cannot play their due role is the basic principle of Hasta's invisibility at this stage. It sounds powerful, but in fact there are many limitations. The ability of extraordinary people is far beyond that of ordinary people. Like the 5 senses mentioned by Marge, as long as any one of the senses is extremely outstanding, even with eyes closed, he he can sense where he is. The invisibility of the body is based on the principle of light imaging, but not all extraordinary people observe the world through this principle. There is also the issue of sequence level. I am only sequence 7, and it is easy to be seen through by extraordinary people of higher sequence. The so-called invisibility is more like a joke of the emperor's new clothes. If there is only a spirit body, it is easier to achieve invisibility. Hasta soon realized that no matter how he made the rules, the innate nature of the body destined it to be unable to be completely hidden. In the spirit state, the naked eye cannot see directly, and it can also float in the air. It will not make any sound when it moves, and there is no smell to smell. Just like the state of a ghost, it is inherently more suitable to be the carrier of invisibility than the body. If I want to deceive extraordinary people like Sharon, it is only possible in the spirit state. With a direction, Hasta continued to study how to improve the second version of invisibility. Backland, Queens. Audrey was about to go out when she saw Susie lying at the door and gave her a look. Audrey was stunned for a moment when the voice of her father, Earl Hall, came from outside. "My baby girl, are you getting ready to go out now?" Audrey showed an elegant and intimate smile on her face, took a step forward, put her arm around Earl Hall's right arm, and said with a smile, "Yes, I am about to go to Grey Lint's to appreciate his recent new works." Grey Lint. A meaningful smile appeared on Earl Hall's face. "Are you just going to see Grey Lint?" "And there are a few friends I can talk to. Is there a Baron Hasta Campbell among them?" Audrey was not affected by this sentence and said naturally, "Mr. Hasta is a very knowledgeable person and can always give me reliable advice on some issues." Earl Hall patted Audrey's hand and sighed slightly. "I don't object to you making friends, but you have been going out a bit frequently recently, and some gossip has reached me." Before Audrey could speak, Earl Hall chuckled and said, "I have always believed that my daughter will be able to grasp the distance between people. There is no need for me to worry about you. It's getting late, go ahead and remember to come back early." Audrey showed a sweet smile and nodded. "Well, I will be back before 9 o'clock tonight." After saying that, Audrey waved her hand, left the villa with Susie and her personal maid, took a carriage, and headed to Grey Lint's home. On the carriage, Audrey pouted slightly, a little dissatisfied with the episode that happened tonight. Someone must have been gossiping in front of her father, otherwise Earl Hall, who had always given her a lot of freedom, would not have said that specifically before she went out tonight. It's really annoying. Those nobles obviously have so many things to discuss and deal with, but they insist on discussing my private affairs. Audrey got angry and slapped Susie on the head. Susie just opened her eyes and glanced at her, then continued to sleep on her stomach. Soon, the carriage arrived at Grey Lint's house. The maid got out of the car first, then stretched out her hand to help Audrey get out of the carriage. Susie fluffed her golden hair, followed Audrey's example, and stepped out of the carriage step by step with graceful steps. "Susie is learning how I walk." Audrey looked back at Susie, her face feeling a little hot, even though it was fun to have an extraordinary dog. However, when she saw Susie gradually getting closer to her in all aspects, and even surpassing her in some aspects, she always had a strange feeling in her heart. She already felt a lot of pressure and was afraid that she would be outclassed by Susie in all aspects in the future. Because in the past few days, Susie has begun to study the Loan dictionary, and she behaves like a scholar when getting along in private. Before she stepped into the door of the Grey Lint villa, Susie's fur was taut all over her body. She didn't care to imitate Audrey's elegant steps. She quickly came to Audrey's feet and rubbed her feet with her tail between her legs. Audrey glanced down and understood what Susie wanted to express at this moment. It seemed to have encountered a natural enemy, so it was too scared to go in. Audrey felt strange. She had brought Susie to Grey Lint's house more than once or twice. She was fine before, so why was she suddenly so scared now? Just when Audrey stopped and didn't move forward, the door opened, and Grey Lint walked out to greet her with a smile on her face. "Woof!" Susie shouted softly, then whimpering and hiding at Audrey's heels, refusing to come out. Is Susie afraid of Grey Lint? Audrey was startled for a moment, then quickly entered the audience state, and carefully looked at Grey Lint tonight. Grey Linte's expression was full of joy and excitement. It was obvious that something great had happened recently. His eyes were also different from before. Especially when he looked at Susie, he revealed an absolute confidence. In the past, when Grey Linte faced Susie, his eyes showed two emotions, fondness and nervousness. His spiritual power has leaked out. Could it be that Grey Linte has been promoted to Sequence 8? Mr. Hastur seems to have said that Sequence 8 of the Medicine Master Path is called Beast Tamer. Tamer. Susie. Extraordinary animal. Audrey thought about it briefly and understood why Susie had such a big reaction tonight. When an extraordinary animal encounters an animal trainer, it is indeed equivalent to encountering a natural enemy. Susie seems to be in a bad mood tonight. Please take her for a walk in the garden. Audrey asked her maid to take Susie for a walk in the garden, so that Susie would not have to worry about facing Grey Linte. Woof, Susie barked and quickly disappeared into the night. Audrey, I suddenly discovered that Susie is really an outstanding puppy. Grey Linte was still looking at the direction Susie left. Audrey said sternly, Grey Linte, I don't allow you to have Susie's ideas, she is my good partner. Grey Linte said sarcastically, I'm just a little envious. Just now, he did have the idea of buying Susie from Audrey, but before he could mention it, Audrey cut him off. As long as Audrey doesn't want to sell, he can't influence Audrey's decision with something as vulgar as a gold pound. Go in first, don't keep Mr. Hastur and the others waiting. Audrey urged, and Grey Linte led her to the study on the second floor. In the study, besides Hastur, there were also Hugh and Furs. Seeing that Furs had recovered her health, Audrey was very happy to congratulate her on her recovery. Thank you, this incident made me understand a lot of things. Furs looked at Hastur with emotion. Since she recovered, she has thought about a lot of things. She thinks it is more important to enjoy life in time, and make yourself happy every day, so as not to let yourself go through the gates of death. For her, staying at home every day, occasionally writing novels, and occasionally enjoying delicious food, is the best day. After Audrey sat down, Grey Linte coughed lightly, attracting everyone's attention. I was promoted to Sequence 8 Tamer 2 days ago. Grey Linte announced his good news, which really aroused the envy and emotion of Hugh and Furs. They entered the extraordinary world earlier than Grey Linte, but now they are not as good as Grey Linte. As expected of a noble, she is rich. Zio secretly envied him. If she had that much money, she would have bought all the extraordinary materials and promoted to Sequence 8. Should I also work hard? Furs's thought just came up, but was slapped away by herself. She said she would enjoy life, but the extraordinary world is so dangerous. The higher the sequence, the more terrible the danger. Audrey smiled and said, Grey Linte, congratulations on your successful promotion. Grey Linte couldn't hide the smile on his face, but he still pretended to be modest and said, I was just lucky for a while. I have been studying medicine for this period of time. I don't know how I completely digested the potion, and then I spent a lot of money to buy the potion formula and extraordinary materials. Audrey glanced at Asta, who kept smiling, and murmured in her heart, No, Grey Linte, you are not lucky, but because Mr. Asta has been guiding you forward. If Mr. Hanged Man can find all his extraordinary materials, then he should be able to be promoted. Sequence 8, Zio and Ms. Furs are only Sequence 9 now. After satisfying his vanity, Grey Linte looked at Asta and said, Asta, I am now a Sequence 8 animal trainer. How can I be promoted to Sequence 7? Animal trainers should require you to tame animals, such as lion performances in circuses. Asta still gave a small suggestion. I have always wanted to buy a puppy as smart and cute as Susie. Grey Linte still couldn't forget Susie. Audrey thought that when she came to Grey Linte's place in the future, she would not let Susie follow her. Tisk, Susie, that's the dog of fantasy and the future. Asta sighed and laughed, I also want to buy a smart and cute kitten, but I haven't found a suitable one. Shu thought for a while and said, How much does it cost to buy a puppy like Susie? Audrey recalled and laughed, Susie was a gift from my father when he bought a hound. It's worth about 450 gold pounds. 450 gold pounds? Zio was completely scared off by the price. Even if she sold herself, she couldn't sell it for 450 gold pounds, right? And this was just a gift, so how many gold pounds would the hound cost? After just a simple thought, Zio still didn't ask the question that might cause her to be extremely envious. Glelant added, 450 gold pounds is far from enough to buy a puppy as smart as Susie. It was given to Earl Hall for his sake. After all, the hound that Earl Hall bought was worth tens of thousands of gold pounds. Tens of thousands of gold pounds? Zio and Furz's breathing became faster at the same time. The money they had seen in their lives, combined, was not tens of thousands of gold pounds, right? And this was just the price of a hound. People are not as good as dogs. Zio and Furz looked at each other, just wanting to hug each other for warmth. Even Haster's face froze for a moment. Tens of thousands of gold pounds were also an enviable amount for him. Audrey still kept a decent smile on her face, but she also felt that Glelant was too talkative. She knew how bad Mr. Osta's financial situation was. He would definitely be excited by the price of tens of thousands of gold pounds, right? Audrey took a sneak peek, only to see the expression on Osta's face that had already been put away. Is Mr. Osta envious? The scene fell into a brief silence for a while. Realizing that he seemed to have said too much, Glelant hurriedly changed the subject. I know some people who specialize in pet training. Osta, you come with me in a few days, and I will definitely choose a kitten as cute and smart as Susie for you. Okay. Osta did not refuse this proposal. A trainer has a natural advantage in choosing pets. They can easily judge a pet's health, emotional personality and other aspects. Zio glanced at Furz and wanted to ask Furz if she wanted to buy a pet to accompany her at home, but when she thought of the price of 450 gold pounds, she swallowed her words again. When entering the free exchange session, Osta, as usual, popularized the relevant mystical knowledge for them. It was not profound, but more systematic, so that they could have a deeper understanding of the extraordinary world. As the conversation continued, Audrey thought for a moment. Her eyes fell on Zio and Fur's faces and said, I just happen to have a commission here. Who wants to try it? What commission? Shu's eyes lit up. She knew that Miss Audrey in front of her was very rich, and she would definitely be very generous, and her mission would definitely make her a lot of money. Hurricane Lieutenant General Chi Lingos secretly sneaked into Backland. This is his portrait. I hope you can find him. Well, there is no need to alarm him. Audrey handed a folded paper to Zio, which contained a portrait of Chi Lingos and various information about Chi Lingos. The kingdom's bounty for Chi Lingos is 10,000 gold pounds. Even if you only provide certain clues, you can get at least a few hundred gold pounds in reward. Audrey's supplement made Zio's eyes brighter. She had never encountered such a lucrative commission of several hundred gold pounds. Even Furz came over and looked at the paper with Zio. Glelant asked curiously, Vice Admiral Hurricane? Is he one of the 7 pirate generals on the sea? Yes, it's him. Audrey gave a positive answer. She also thought about whether to ask Hugh for help in private, but then she thought, Mr. Osta can also take this task, right? With his wisdom and ability, it should be easier for him to find Chi Lingos' movements than Hugh. But now it seems that Mr. Osta is very calm and is not tempted by the huge reward at all. Has Mr. Osta's embarrassing financial situation improved? After reading the relevant information above, Hugh and Furz felt that this commission was very risky, but the rewards were also huge, so they finally accepted it. When she returns, she will spend 20 gold pounds to hire others to help her find it. If she can find it, she will get a lot of money. Even if she can't find it, Miss Audrey will reimburse her for the money she spent during this period with her generosity. Soon, the communication gradually ended, and Furz expressed her solemn thanks to Osta before leaving. Susie, who had been playing in the garden, ran out of the gate of the Glelant villa, but when she saw Osta, she stopped abruptly, tucked her tail between her legs, lowered her head, and walked silently to Audrey's feet. Osta glanced at it and said, Susie doesn't seem to be in a good mood tonight. Well, yes, it may not be having fun. Glelant likes it very much. Why don't you let it stay here for one night and change its living environment? Osta smiled and said. The smile on his face fell into Susie's eyes. That was a devilish smile. Woof woof. It shouted twice anxiously, fearing that Audrey would really leave it here. Audrey did not answer immediately, but frowned slightly as if she was thinking about the feasibility of this suggestion. Asta smiled and said, "Look, Susie's reaction is so obvious. Maybe she also likes my suggestion." Audrey lowered her head and looked at Susie, curiously asking, "Susie, do you really like staying here?" "Woof woof woof." Susie shouted a few words and rubbed Audrey's skirt with her face, looking very well behaved. "She wants to stay here, but she just can't bear to be separated from you." Quote. Susie was confused. She clearly didn't want to stay here, but why did this person always misunderstand her? Don't people and dogs have the same joys and sorrows? Mr. Asta, can you understand what Susie wants to express? I can understand some of it. For example, it should be very confused now and don't know what choice to make. Woof. Look, Susie agrees with what I said. Susie didn't dare to say anything else. She silently stuck to Audrey's skirt, and her two front legs pulled Audrey's ankles, fearing that she would really leave her behind. "Susie, does this mean you have to stay here at Greyland?" Woof woof woof. Susie's golden hair trembled. Can she still speak properly? "It's just a dog." Audrey wanted to cover her mouth and laugh, but she took a deep breath and maintained her decent smile. "Unfortunately, Susie is used to sleeping at home, and the first thing I want to do when I wake up every day is to see Susie appear in front of me. This will make me full of motivation." Yes, motivation for learning. Audrey can't remember how many times she woke up in the morning and saw Susie wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, lying on the ground, quietly flipping through books. When she saw her wake up, Susie would say in a deep voice, "Audrey, you're awake." This scene always stimulates her motivation to study, so that she no longer has the idea of lying in bed. This effectively improves her habit of lying in bed. Hearing this, Susie immediately cheered up, wagging her tail, and walked back and forth around Audrey's feet. "Susie is homesick. Annie, you take Susie to the carriage first, I'll come after I say a few words." Audrey asked the personal maid to take Susie, who couldn't wait to escape from here, to the carriage. Asta lowered his voice and said, "I know some information about the commission you just commissioned." Audrey asked curiously, "Mr. Asta, why didn't you say it at the party just now?" In order not to dampen Ms. Hughes' enthusiasm. Mr. Asta is really considerate. Audrey laughed, her golden hair swaying gently, very dazzling. "I received news that Hurricane Vice Admiral Keelingos will appear at the ball held by Duke Negan." "Really?" Audrey's eyes widened slightly. Mr. Asta's speed of doing things was too amazing. No wonder he said he was afraid of dampening Ms. Hughes' enthusiasm. Ms. Hugh had just received the commission and was about to start the race, but Mr. Asta was already standing only one step away from the finish line. Such a contrast was too tragic. "Greg is my good friend. I won't take risks with this news." Audrey thought for a while and said, "Mr. Asta, what kind of reward do you want?" "I've always wanted to revive the glory of our Campbell family." "Revive the glory of the Campbell family?" Mr. Asta wanted a title as a reward? Audrey quickly figured out the trick, and hesitated for a moment and said, "I can only try my best in this matter." "Don't be too deliberate, just let everything go." Why didn't Mr. Asta tell Greg directly? Sometimes the relationship is too good, but you can't speak freely. Audrey also felt that this sentence made sense. Just like her pursuit of the extraordinary world, she didn't dare to discuss these things with her parents. On the contrary, people like Mr. Asta and Greyland could make her less scrupulous and show a more real self. Audrey's eyes moved, pretending to be puzzled. "Mr. Asta means that our relationship is relatively ordinary, so he can speak freely?" Asta thought for a while and felt that he could not discuss this topic with Audrey, so he said, "Keelingus is a cruel pirate. He dared to attend Duke Negan's ball. He must have bad intentions and rely on someone. Miss Audrey should be careful." "Well, I won't put myself in danger." Asta was ready to leave after the matter was said. Before leaving, Audrey asked, "Is the recent mosquito repellent product produced by the factory under Mr. Asta's name?" Miss Audrey is also interested. Audrey nodded and said, "I have always wanted to invest in some business myself, and I am very optimistic about Mr. Asta's product. This is easy to do. You can send someone to discuss relevant investment matters with manager Harley tomorrow." In fact, Hasta didn't want to accept investment from the outside world. This product has already opened up sales, and it is only a matter of time before it makes money. But if Audrey asked for investment, he would not refuse. Maybe Audrey felt that he was in financial difficulty, so she deliberately helped him in the name of investment. He would not refuse this kindness. Hasta watched Audrey get on the carriage, and then he took the carriage back. On the carriage, as soon as Audrey got on, Susie came over and whimpered a few times, as if complaining about Audrey and Hasta teaming up to tease her. "Okay, don't be so aggrieved, how could I leave you with Greyland?" After Audrey comforted him a few times, her mind drifted to Keelingo's matter. Mr. Hanged Man only asked him to confirm Keelingo's whereabouts, and now he has completed his mission. What kind of reward should he ask for this time? After returning home, Hasta took a bath, then lay on the bed and entered the Hall of Stars. Looking at each lit star, the star where the Superstar Lord was located was still very quiet, and it was impossible to tell what he had done that night. The star where the high-dimensional overlooker was located had a slight change. The silk thread that originally hung under the light cocoon had now become two, and each of the two silk threads was connected to a small light spot. One of the light spots showed a pair of platinum eyeballs, and on the extra light spot, there appeared a handsome young man with black hair, wearing a tuxedo, holding a gold-studded cane, and dressed like a gentleman. The young man held a gold-studded cane in his right hand and played with a blasphemous card in his left hand. The temperance card from the Mother Tree of Desire. The lamp god really gave this temperance card to the high-dimensional overlooker. Hasta always felt that something was wrong, and gave up the idea of getting closer to see the potion formula recorded on the temperance card. He was observing the high-dimensional observer, and he knew that he was observing him. If he discovered his behavior of peeping at the temperance card, he might expose his true situation. It was better not to pay attention to him for now. Even if he solved his shadow incarnation, he could continue to rely on his authority to send down more shadow incarnations. As long as the main body was intact, he didn't care how many times other shadow incarnations died. In this regard, the high-dimensional observer was very different from the Superstar Overlord. The Superstar Overlord intervened in the real world, like trying his best to lay a big golden egg, while the high-dimensional observer just laid a nest of small eggs. Powers gather when they are together, and they disperse when they are divided. The high-dimensional observer obviously sacrificed powerful power through his authority in exchange for the existence of more shadow incarnations. Hasta sat in the Hall of Stars, stared at it seriously for a while, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I hope Eamon will meet the shadow incarnation of the high-dimensional observer as soon as possible. This is not to make rules, but a small blessing from him. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. Hasta was just trying a little bit. Maybe he could really let Eamon meet the high-dimension overlooker. Eamon likes to play games, the high-dimension overlooker likes to observe everything, and he also likes to watch the excitement between them. One blessing, triple satisfaction. During the day, Hasta went to the factory and mentioned to Manager Harley about Audrey's investment. Manager Harley immediately said that this was a great thing and worthy of praise. For example, he could pay to publish in the newspaper. Backland Pearl personally invested in and endorsed the product. Miss Audrey's favorite product, the most popular product nowadays, even Miss Audrey said it was good after using it. Hasta listened silently, and really felt that Manager Harley was a talent. He just casually mentioned a few words, and he could come up with the hot topics of the UC headlines of the Secret World version. In this regard, Hasta was very sure of Audrey's ability to bring goods. Apart from anything else, there were few nobles in the aristocratic circle who had not heard of Audrey Hall's name. This is Backland's most shining pearl, which is recognized by the king himself. No, not only can we not brag about this matter, but we must also pay attention to protecting Miss Audrey's privacy. Hasta rejected Manager Harley's suggestion, which sounded very tempting. He would not use Audrey's reputation to add luster to his products and use it as a gimmick. Even if Audrey herself did not care so much, he could not do it. Influence and reputation are invisible but ubiquitous things. Manager Harley felt it was a pity, but he did not insist on his own ideas. He also knew some unspoken rules among the nobles. It was okay to make money quietly, but don't tell others that you are going to make a lot of money. What's more, Miss Audrey herself is not short of money. Such behavior can easily cause dissatisfaction with Earl Hall. Audrey's work efficiency is very fast. In the afternoon, a special person came to discuss relevant investment matters with Manager Harley. At more than 6 o'clock in the evening, Hasta finished dinner early and told butler Neil not to let anyone come to the second floor unless something big happened. Around 7 o'clock, Hasta came to an empty house at the corner of the second floor. This place was originally used to store some clothes, but he didn't have many clothes, so there was only a wardrobe here, and there were no clothes inside. Hasta closed the door first and locked it. Then he walked to the yellow-brown wardrobe that was nearly 2 meters long, stretched out his hand and opened the 2 doors of the wardrobe, and it was pitch black inside. Hasta turned off all the lights in the room, then went back to the wardrobe and closed the 2 doors. After doing all this, Hasta closed his eyes and rested for a while, and then his spirit came out from the top of his head. A simple spirit, light and floating, is much freer than a real body. He passed through 2 closed doors and several rooms in succession before coming to the study room he and Sharon had agreed on. Hasta floated to the desk, rolled up the war emblem, and made his spirit body like wearing a thick layer of armor. In this state, it is not considered the extraordinary ability of using the war emblem, and there is no 10-minute usage limit. The ghosts are forbidden to be invisible here. This rule is specifically used against Sharon, so that Sharon cannot hide herself. Otherwise, with her extraordinary ability of the Wrathful Soul sequence, Hasta would not know when she came to the study. All spiritual vision is prohibited here. After arranging 2 rules in a row, Hasta gave himself a destiny blessing to increase his luck. After doing all this, Hasta floated to a shadow on the bookshelf and waited. Wait for the agreed time to see if Sharon can find him. It is simply the extraordinary version of hide and seek. As 8 o'clock approached, Hasta became more serious. He could see the time displayed on the clock in the study from this direction. Soon, 8 o'clock arrived. This was the time he and Sharon agreed on. After waiting for about 10 minutes, the window made a humming sound. The temperature seemed to have dropped a little bit. Is Sharon here? Hasta did not see Sharon coming in from the window. But he seemed to be able to feel that Sharon had come to the study. Could it be that Sharon jumped directly from a certain position outside the window into the mirror in the study? The mirror in the study was placed directly in front of the sofa, and he just couldn't see it from his position. Wait a little longer, Sharon has always been very patient. Maybe she is waiting for me to go out now. Hasta chose to wait patiently to avoid being discovered by Sharon. But after waiting for half an hour, there was no movement at all. Didn't Marich explain the specific rules of this game to Miss Sharon? Hasta had doubts in his heart. The hide-and-seek game between him and Sharon was facilitated by Marich. The rules he and Marich agreed on were: he hid, and Sharon was responsible for finding him. But according to this situation, Sharon hid, and he was responsible for finding her, right? It must be Marich who was playing tricks in secret, no wonder he was so active. Hasta figured out the key point and chose to come out from the shadow of the bookshelf, and floated in front of the mirror at the first stop. Unfortunately, Sharon's figure was not seen in the mirror. There are rules here. If Sharon is really hiding in the mirror, he can definitely see it. Unless Sharon has changed the rules here, but he didn't notice it at all, Sharon can't do such a thing. Hasta walked around the study room, but still couldn't find Sharon's shadow. Could it be that Sharon hasn't come tonight? With Sharon's personality, she won't do such a thing without a sense of time. Hasta patiently searched for another circle, but still couldn't find Sharon's shadow. Could it be that Sharon is not in this study room? How did Marich describe the rules of the game tonight to Sharon? Could it be that it was limited to this study room, but changed to the whole building? Hasta had a bad guess in his heart. Originally, he was the ghost hiding in the dark, secretly admiring how Sharon was looking for him. But now, he has become the unlucky guy who is looking for ghosts. At this moment, a rhythmic knocking sound suddenly came from the next room. Hasta quickly passed through the wall and came to the source of the sound. It was a mirror, and on its smooth surface was written, "Keep looking." Asta had received Sharon's letter and recognized it as Sharon's handwriting. Now, he was certain that Marich had expanded the hiding range of the entire hide-and-seek game to the entire building. Wait, the entire building, his body hidden in the closet. Asta immediately guessed where Sharon might be, and he quickly passed through layers of walls and came to the closet where he was hiding. When his spirit just entered his body, a familiar voice came to his ear. Found you. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. The voice sounded very calm, but one could vaguely hear a hint of joy in it. Sharon, you are very good at psychological tactics. Asta sighed, knowing that he had lost to Sharon tonight. She was indeed the seeker tonight, but she turned passive into active, deliberately hiding to prevent herself from finding her, so as to make her misjudge. Before she came to this house, she probably had already observed every room first, and then came to the mirror before to remind herself. Finally, she squatted in the place where she hid her body, waiting for her spirit to get in, and won the game in one fell swoop. I'm just more patient than you. Sharon's figure floated out of the window, and then came to the front of the closet, looking at Asta calmly. Hey, when did you come to my house? Around 7:30. Is this the time Marich told you? Sharon nodded silently. Then you saw it all? Sharon nodded again. Asta's cheeks were a little hot. If that's the case, from the first step of hiding in the closet, he was under Sharon's gaze. No wonder he couldn't find her. This was clearly an unfair game of hide-and-seek. Sharon's blue eyes lit up slightly, as if a smile was flowing through her, but she soon returned to her usual calmness without any extra emotional fluctuations. From the time you slowly closed the door, carefully entered the closet, and finally appeared as a spirit, I saw it all clearly. Sharon tried to use a calm tone to gently stab Asta's wound again. Asta really wanted to cover his face with one hand, close the two doors, and then turn around and hide in the corner of the closet. It was too shameful to be said in public like this. He recalled again, fortunately, he didn't talk to himself at that time, otherwise, he would really be ashamed to see people. After taking a few deep breaths, Hasta smiled and walked out of the closet, saying with a smile, when I am in the spirit state, can you easily find my existence? No, Sharon thought for a while and said, your spirit state is very special. Even if I turn on my spiritual vision, I can't find your existence. So, you can't see me at all? Well, after you leave this house, I can no longer sense your location. So you left words on the mirror and made sounds to deliberately lure me out? Sharon didn't answer, but her eyes told Hasta that his guess was correct. He not only lost to Marich's false information tonight, but also lost to Sharon in patience and wisdom. Fortunately, his improved second version of invisibility can even deceive Sharon. This level should be enough to go to the Russell Memorial Exhibition to take away the Black Emperor card. I can't see you because I'm far away from you. If I'm close, I'll have a vague feeling. Asta was stunned for a moment, then looked out the window, blinked, and said in an incredible tone, Miss Sharon, so you hid far away from the house at the beginning, and then observed my every move through the mirror in the house? Sharon was silent, slightly turned her body, and said after a long while, the rules of the game only require finding you who is hiding, and do not require me to enter the house. Miss Sharon, are you cheating? Asta now truly understood that he could not win this game from the beginning, no matter who looked for whom. Because he only limited his thinking to the house, he could not find Sharon who was hiding in the mirror space outside. I am making reasonable use of the rules. Sharon turned around and looked at Asta directly, and said, learning to exploit loopholes in the rules is not something you lawyers should be accustomed to. Asta felt that his wound was stabbed again. You are not a qualified meander like this. Sharon calmly raised a knife again and slowly inserted it into Asta's wound, with only the handle remaining outside the wound. Asta looked at Miss Sharon, who had long hair tied in a light golden bun, blue eyes like sapphires, and a delicate face. No matter what she said, she could keep a calm face. He understood a truth. Every exquisite doll is pink and black in heart, and is very good at stabbing people with a knife while smiling. Being looked at by Asta with such eyes, Sharon said in a somewhat unnatural tone,
Your invisibility is very good, but remember to hide your body next time.
After that, the figure disappeared from Asta's front. It should be directly with the ability of mirror jumping that he moved his position in an instant. Although this mirror jump only covers a distance of a few hundred meters, it is already a very useful Beander ability. Whether it is escaping or investigating, it can play a magical effect. Forget it, as Marge said, losing to Miss Sharon is not a shameful thing. After all, she is sequence 5 and I am only sequence 7. And she is also a ghost among sequence 5. It is normal that we can't find her. There is absolutely no need for me to feel depressed because of this small failure. After all, even Sharon can only sense my presence at close range. This proves that my invisibility is still very powerful.
Asta comforted himself a few words, but when he thought of what had just happened, he felt ashamed and panicked.
Just now, was Sharon snickering? Hasta recalled carefully, and it seemed that he did not see Sharon's snickering expression. Hey, let's take a bath and relax first, and then think about whether we can come up with the third version of invisibility. Hasta left the room and headed to the bathroom. When he came to the mirror and saw his face clearly in the mirror, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly and said, "Miss Sharon, you are quite playful." I saw that on his handsome face. 3 black lines were drawn on both cheeks, and the tip of his nose was blackened with ink. It felt like he was drawing cats on other people's faces when he was a child. Thinking that Sharon had been staring at his face just now and still talking to him calmly, Asta had to admire Sharon's puppet transformation. I'm afraid once she is promoted to sequence 4, the puppet potion in her body will be completely digested, right? What a shame. Hasta buried his face in the bubbly bathtub. In the next few days, Hasta basically stayed at home to study his third version of the invisibility technique, and at the same time simulated going to the Russell Memorial Exhibition to steal the Black Emperor's card. In order not to affect Keelingo's actions, he deliberately postponed this plan for a few days. Only after catching Keelingos at the ball held by Duke Negan, he would find the opportunity to steal the Black Emperor card. A house with stables and a garden in Hillston on Saturday. Zillinges, who had a unique wide chin and dark green eyes, stood in front of the full-length mirror, looking leisurely as he put on a set of clothes that had been taken off the unconscious man on the ground just now. The black glove on his left hand wriggled like digestion. A few seconds later, Keelinge's body in the full-length mirror shimmered, and his face, muscles, skin, bones, etc. all underwent strange changes. Before long, his figure and appearance were exactly the same as the man lying on the ground. A strong nose, sparse eyebrows, slightly droopy cheeks, and light blue eyes, this is his new appearance now. To be precise, Baron Bramil. The nobles, dance is really exciting. I wonder if the blood of the Loan nobles will be fresher and sweeter than others, or if it will be as dirty and smelly as the pirates on the sea. Keelingos murmured, break the real Baron Bramir's neck before going out, otherwise wouldn't it be very troublesome if this man suddenly wakes up? It's better to kill to save trouble. After all, few things in this world are simpler than killing someone. People are very fragile, especially ordinary people who cannot master extraordinary power. A pair of knives and forks, inserted in the right place, can also kill someone. He never liked things that were too troublesome, and things that could be solved by killing people were just right for him. In fact, he has always felt that he is very particular about fairness. After all, death is fair to everyone, whether rich or poor. Queens, Duke Negan's mansion. The nobles of Loan's upper class brought their wives, female companions, male companions and their children to attend tonight's dance. Just the carriage parked at the entrance of Duke Negan's villa area can be discharged thousands of meters away. A competent coachman is guarding the carriage, looking at the brightly lit villa area in the distance. That is not a world they can go to. It is obviously not very far away. But they did not show any dissatisfaction because of this. Instead, they looked proud, straightened their backs proudly, and stared at every noble who passed by. After all, they have seen the splendor and luxury of the real upper-class society, and they are the group of people closest to them. Just like the homeless man who makes a living by begging, when talking about the greatness and prosperity of Backland when facing the refugees who come from outside to beg for a living, he will also straighten his back and be full of pride. in Queens, in Duke Negan's mansion, a grand ball is being held. There are two parts here. The hall on the first floor is dedicated to dancing. Going up the stairs in the hall is the corridor in the second part, where nobles who are not dancing can stand here and enjoy the dancing below with their glasses. If there are noble men and women who are attracted to each other, they can hold hands and walk down the stairs to the hall on the first floor to dance. After dancing the opening dance, Audrey stood on the second floor of the ballroom, looking at the crystal chandelier hanging from the roof, staring at the lit candles on it in a daze. She found that many people nearby were ready to invite her to dance, so she left here tactfully and went to the dining area. As soon as she came to the dining area and took a look around, she found Asta standing near the corner with a plate in his hand, enjoying the food tonight slowly. Mr. Asta seems to like sweets very much. Audrey, who was in the audience state, glanced at the plate in Asta's hand and roughly understood Asta's food preferences. The chocolate cake recommended by Mr. Asta last time was really delicious. Audrey walked over with a plate, glanced at the desserts on Asta's plate, and picked up the same desserts in order. Then she walked to a place not far from Asta and began to enjoy the desserts tonight. As expected of Mr. Asta's recommendation, the taste is really different. The desserts that melted in the mouth and had a strong fragrance won Audrey's love at the first time. She knew that as long as she followed Mr. Asta's recommendation when tasting desserts, she would not step on thunder. While tasting the food, she elegantly talked with the nobles who came to greet her, and occasionally looked at every noble here with her peripheral vision. According to Mr. Asta, the Hurricane Admiral Keelingos will sneak into this ball tonight. Mr. Hanged Man said that Keelingos has a magical extraordinary item, Creeping Hunger, which can change people's appearance and form. If Keelingos really comes, he must have replaced someone else's noble identity. Audrey hopes to discover Keelingos' disguised identity from some tiny details. But there was not much to gain. Instead, some improper content was glimpsed. For example, Mrs. Feta seemed to be too close to Viscount Bull, especially her peach-like eyes, warm and affectionate, lingering to the point of dripping water, but she didn't have such eyes when she looked at her husband. Audrey's face flushed slightly. She also understood a lot of things from her childhood. Just as she was thinking, she saw Asta's figure leaving the corner and walking to the second floor of the ballroom. Could it be that Asta had discovered Keelingos' movements? Audrey used the excuse of politely refusing the young noble who wanted to talk to her, put down the plate, walked gracefully, and returned to the second floor of the ballroom. Not long after she arrived here, she locked onto a suspicious figure. Baron Gramiel. He looked very different tonight from usual. Whether it was the perfume on his body or the look in his eyes when talking to others, he was not like the usual Baron Gramiel. Could this person be the new identity that Keelingos transformed into by using Creeping Hunger? Hello, Baron Gramiel. Audrey greeted him warmly with a flawless smile. On the opposite side, Baron Gramiel, with sparse eyebrows and pale blue eyes, smiled and saluted. Hello, Miss Hall, you're the most beautiful and dazzling gem at the ball tonight. After a few simple greetings, the two passed each other. At this time, Audrey was sure that the Baron Gramiel in front of her was disguised by Keelingos. At this time, she saw Asta's eyes looking at this side. That look seemed to tell her, Audrey, your idea is correct, he is Keelingos. Audrey smiled and looked back at Asta, and then they understood each other tacitly and walked to the other side tacitly. Audrey walked through the crowd and came to Earl Hall, who was chatting with the nobles. Asta came to Greg, who was drinking and chatting with others. Audrey borrowed Earl Hall, and Asta called Greg away. Asta, what do you want to see me for tonight? Yes, and it's a big deal. Greg was stunned for a moment and smiled. Don't you want to invite Miss Audrey to dance, but you don't have enough courage, so you come to me to discuss it? Asta shook his head and said seriously, I received news that there is a Hurricane Admiral Keelingos in the sea. He is secretly hiding in Backland, and he is in the ball tonight. What? Greg's smile gradually disappeared, and his tone became much more serious. He should be pretending to be Baron Gramiel at this moment. Miss Audrey and I both suspect that he came to the ball to assassinate a big shot. Greg chose to believe Asta's words, got up and rushed to where his father, Duke Negan, was. This is a matter of life and death. When he was about to reach Duke Negan's location, Greg found Earl Hall. The two people's eyes met in the air, and they understood each other's thoughts, and came to Duke Negan at the same time. After solving the matter of Keelingos, Asta felt much more relaxed and prepared to go to the dining area to enjoy the food. Halfway through the journey, he saw Audrey surrounded by a crowd. Audrey looked at him with a smile, as if to say, "Mr. Asta, I knew you would come here to enjoy the food." Asta smiled and bowed across the crowd, then came to the familiar dessert area and began to choose his favorite dessert. Keelingos' whereabouts have been exposed, and the assassination attempt on Duke Negan has been declared a failure in advance. As for whether he can leave the ball alive, Asta feels a little uncertain. A lot of big things happened in Backland some time ago, which led to a lot of strengthening of the protection here. It is a bit difficult for Keelingos to break through the siege and then die in the hands of Mr. Azek. Originally, this assassination was just difficult for Keelingos, but after Audrey saw through his identity, it rose to the nightmare level of difficulty. With himself, it basically reached the hell level of difficulty. If Keelingos knew the truth, he would probably shout to the sky, "What virtue and ability do I have, Keelingos, to let two Wolong Fengchu target me at the same time?" Well, this metaphor is a bit inappropriate. Wolong Fengchu seems to be almost a villain. Asta smiled and put aside these little fantasies. After enjoying the food for a while, Audrey freed herself from the enthusiastic nobles and came to Hasta. She said casually, "Good evening, Baron Campbell." "Good evening, Miss Audrey, you are the most dazzling gem in tonight's ball." Audrey looked at Hasta deeply. "Just now, Baron Gramil also praised me in this way." This shows that no matter in whose eyes, Miss Audrey is the most dazzling pearl. This is a recognized fact and the only truth of this ball. Audrey chuckled and lowered her voice. "Is Mr. Hasta always so exaggerated when praising others? I am not good at praising others. That won't work. In the interpersonal communication of nobles, praise is a must. A well-placed praise can make both the host and the guest happy." Miss Audrey seems to be very knowledgeable about these situations. We need to cultivate this knowledge from a young age. Wasn't it the same for Mr. Asta when he was a child? Asta thought for a while and said, "I always failed this course when I was a child." Is it difficult to praise others? It's not difficult, but it's a bit against my will. Audrey showed an expression of enlightenment and pretended to be unhappy and said, "It turns out that praising me makes Mr. Asta feel very against his will." Asta picked up a piece of caramel pudding with a knife and fork and said, "This dessert is not bad." The two chatted casually and soon attracted the attention of the nobles around them. One is recognized as the most dazzling pearl in Backland, and the other has impeccable looks. His slender and powerful figure is different from some nobles who have already bulged their bellies. As more and more people were looking at him, Asta no longer had the idea of quietly enjoying the food. He put down his plate, bent down and stretched out his hand, smiling, "Can you invite Miss Audrey to dance with you?" "Of course, this is my luck." Audrey smiled and put her hand on Asta's arm, and left here gracefully, heading to the first-floor ballroom. In the ballroom, the candlelight flickered brightly, and the nobles danced freely in pairs in the candlelight. In the outermost circle, there was also a special orchestra. The arrival of Asta and Audrey once again attracted a lot of attention. Although Audrey was known for her elegance and generosity in interpersonal communication, there were not many people who could really dance with her. In most cases, Miss Audrey would use an elegant and decent reason to decline the invitation. For example, tonight, many young nobles had already returned home with a wall. Just as Asta and Audrey were dancing for a while, a sudden gust of wind swept over the dance floor, blowing out the candles on the crystal chandelier. Just as the light and darkness changed, and everyone's attention was attracted, several thin wind blades, with the help of the cover of the strong wind, cut the metal chain hanging on the crystal chandelier. Squeak! With a tooth-grinding sound of breaking, the huge crystal chandelier fell straight from the top of the head into the dance floor, making a clanging sound all over the floor. At this time, Asta had already led Audrey to the edge of the dance floor while dancing, and was not disturbed by the falling chandelier. As Keelingos starting to act, "Audrey,
With her right hand still in Asta's palm and her left hand on Asta's shoulder, raised her head, and her green eyes flickered like a pure emerald under the changing light and darkness around her. The candles flickered on and off, the light and darkness kept changing, some people were screaming, some were hiding around, and the originally harmonious dance became chaotic and noisy.
Faced with this slightly chaotic situation, Asta was calm and looked down at Audrey tonight. The beige elegant long dress has a fluffy hem that sways gently. The jewelry on her delicate white neck and earlobes is mainly made of emeralds. Her blonde hair is braided like flowers, hanging from her ears and draped over her shoulders. Her figure is very slender, and her smooth forehead can touch her chin. Overall, she looks like a symbol of elegance and nobility. This change of light and dark light adds a mysterious veil to her beauty.
There was no panic on her face at this moment, and her eyes showed curiosity.
For her, what happened tonight was also a rare experience.
Hearing Audrey's question, Hasta retracted his gaze, looked at the source of the wind blade, and said calmly, "Well, Keelingos took action, but it failed. Duke Negan was already on guard. They are all powerful, extraordinary people, so he should want to escape."
Audrey also looked over, but she couldn't clearly see the extraordinary battle there. She could only see the chaotic crowd fleeing in all directions. She stared at it for a while and asked curiously, "What order of extraordinary is he?" "It should be a sequence 6B Yander, the wind blessed." "Oh, then how dare he come to assassinate Duke Negan?"
"The glove on his hand should be a powerful, extraordinary item."
Audrey's eyes flashed with shock. She had already learned this information from Mr. Hanged Man.
But what about Mr. Hasta? He could roughly guess Keelingos' strength based on his own analysis alone.
If someone hadn't told him in advance, Mr. Hasta's occult knowledge would have been really terrifying. Audrey thought for a moment and smiled. Is this my first cooperation with Mr. Hasta? Of course, Miss Audrey is the real focus of tonight's dance. What about Mr. Hasta? I prefer to stand at a distance, not in the spotlight. Why? Because I am not as flawless as Miss Audrey. Once I stand in the spotlight, I will easily show my shyness, and then have various shortcomings pointed out. Audrey narrowed her eyes and said with a smile, "Mr. Hasta just said that he is not good at praising others. Because these words of praise are not against my heart. If these words were said by other nobles, Audrey would feel very polite and hypocritical, but when said by Mr. Hasta, she felt very useful. After all, it is easier for people to feel happy when a compliment comes from someone who is better than themselves. Unfortunately, tonight is still a bit of a fly in the ointment." Asta sighed slightly, causing Audrey to ask curiously, "Is there anything that's not perfect enough? Tonight is the first dance I invited Miss Audrey to dance, but it was ruined by Keelingos before the dance was finished." Audrey looked around, then looked at her hands still on Asta's palms and shoulders, and chuckled. "Now, you can still dance." Dancing in the dark chaos is an interesting experiment. Asta thought about where he left off just now, and Audrey had already guided him on how to dance next.
In terms of dancing, Asta is a little better than the average person, and Audrey is much better than him.
On the other side, Keelingos looked at the extraordinary people gathering around him with a horrified face.
He had just started, and an ambush had been set up against him.
Obviously, his assassination operation has been exposed in advance.
He really couldn't imagine how he was discovered, but now, he had no time to think deeply. Escape from here, is what he should consider most at the moment. The glove on his left hand squirmed slightly and was covered with a layer of dark golden fine scales, which stood up as his pupils became lighter. An invisible ripple spread out in all directions with him as the center. Wherever it passed, a huge fear suddenly surged in the hearts of the gentlemen and ladies who could barely calm down. They could no longer maintain their sanity and began to flee in all directions, screaming and yelling. Many of them stumbled towards the encirclement where Keelingos was. The extraordinaries who surrounded Keelingos were worried about hurting these nobles, so they became hesitant to take action. Taking advantage of this gap, Keelingos no longer hesitated. With hurricanes swirling around him, he ran towards the window, crashing through the bay window. With the help of the wind, he actually glided a long distance. Take this to leave the confines of Duke Negan's mansion. As soon as his feet landed, Keelanges ran towards the woods not far away. As long as he entered the woods and blocked the pursuers a little, he could put some distance away. Then you only need to change your appearance and blend into the crowd, and you can completely escape the pursuit. After all, there are more than 5 million people living in Backland. With the help of his crawling hunger, he is like a drop of water flowing into the sea, making it difficult to find him again. This is also his biggest reliance to challenge this task. After a while, a breeze blew through Duke Negan's mansion, and Ace Snake, the Archbishop of the Backland Diocese of the Church of Storms, led several members of the Punishers to arrive. Alger was also one of them. He was in a bad mood at the moment. From the broken window, it can be seen that Keelingos, who failed in the assassination, has already escaped. If it wasn't a waste of time. Alger glanced at the Singer of God with his peripheral vision and clenched his fist slightly. Obviously, as soon as he received the news of Miss Justice from Mr. Fool, he immediately told his boss. But this efficiency was too low. It was not until the extraordinary fluctuations in Duke Negan's mansion that the Singer of God was willing to believe his information and set off here. But this delay allowed Keelingos to escape from here smoothly. With Keelingos' character, he would probably guess that he was the one who told the secret, and the situation would be difficult to deal with at that time. Keelingos must die in Backland. I don't know if Mr. Fool's followers will help. Not far away, Hastur and Audrey also came from the edge to the vicinity. The furious Duke Negan, the embarrassed Singer of God, the uncertain Alger. Asta saw the expressions of these people one by one, and then focused his eyes on Alger. This hanged man, with his messy dark blue hair, deep and rough facial features, and bronze skin, you can tell at a glance that he is a person who has lived in the sea for many years. But his face now is probably because he is upset because Keelingos escaped. Asta looked for a while, and then looked at the famous Pigeon of God. He is indeed a very qualified storm believer. After all, that existence is also nicknamed the Storm Pigeon. He is obviously a Beander who controls the storm, but he is always a step behind in his work speed. In the end, he was transferred from the Backland Diocese because of this. He is simply an old pigeon that has become a spirit. Audrey came to Earl Hall and listened to Duke Negan's angry accusations. She felt a little proud. She has only been a Beander for less than 2 months, and she can already influence the life and death of a duke in the Kingdom of Lowen. Such progress is really too amazing. I wonder if Mr. Hanged Man is satisfied with his ability to do things. He should still be on the sea now, right? Audrey looked around and finally landed on Alger. After a careful look, her pupils slightly dilated, and then she deliberately stepped back a step to avoid being discovered by Alger, even though the distance was a bit far. Then she continued to look at him with her peripheral vision, while constantly comparing the image of the man opposite with Mr. Hanged Man at the Tarot Club. The more she looked, the more she felt that the man looked like Mr. Hanged Man. They were both believers of the storm, had lived on the sea for a long time, and were also involved in the matter of Keelingos. Could it really be Mr. Hanged Man? Audrey became more and more suspicious, but she didn't dare to be sure. Before she could observe for too long, the storm believer left with the others, probably to hunt down Keelingos. Audrey didn't stay here for long. She glanced at Asta, who was already standing far away, and thought to herself, Mr. Asta really doesn't like to stand in the spotlight. She went up to the second floor and came to the room where her mother and other noble ladies were. My Audrey, where did you go just now? You are not injured in such a chaotic situation, right? Come here and let me see you. I am fine, and I am not affected by the chaotic situation just now. After asking about her mother's well-being, Audrey put her mother at ease. Originally, after she revealed the true face of Keelingos, she planned to come here to accompany her mother, but she met Mr. Asta and accepted his invitation to dance. So much so that her mother was worried. Now thinking about it seriously, her cheeks are a little hot. After a while, Count Hall came to the door. Audrey found a reason to go out and came to the nearby balcony with Count Hall. Dad, is there anything? Audrey's green eyes revealed the innocence of a girl. Earl Hall smiled and said, the matter has been resolved. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Well,
Did you tell others that Baron Gramuel was a fake? Yes, besides me. The other person who knew about this was Baron Hasta Campbell. Audrey's eyes were bright. What she said was indeed true, and there was no lie at all.